You know, when people think about buying a private jet, they're usually picturing the absolute peak of luxury, right? Skipping the TSA lines, sipping champagne at 35,000 feet, and having the total freedom to just fly anywhere on your own schedule. But behind all that glamour, there's a mathematical reality that catches even the most seasoned tycoons totally off guard. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden economics of flight. We're going to dive into some hard data for the 2026 market to uncover the true financial gravity of aircraft ownership and show you how understanding this math can literally save you millions.
Okay, let's start by shattering a pretty common myth. If you ask the average person, or honestly even a first-time buyer, what the biggest expense of owning a private jet is, they're almost always going to list operational costs. They'll say it's the jet fuel, the salaries for a couple of highly trained pilots, hangar fees, or all that meticulous maintenance. But when you actually compare those costs over a standard 10-year hold of a large cabin aircraft, those operational expenses are absolutely dwarfed by the apex predator of aviation finance, and that is depreciation. It's almost always a bigger hit than the crew, bigger than the maintenance, and usually larger than the original purchase price split across those 10 years. It's just this massive, invisible force silently eating away at your capital. So to understand how this apex predator hunts, we really have to start at the very beginning of a jet's lifespan.
Which brings us to the year one cliff.
Here is the brutal reality. The literal second a brand new jet is delivered and its tires touch the runway for the first time, its value falls off a cliff. We are talking about a staggering 8 to 12% drop. The second that title transfers, the market instantly views it as a pre-owned aircraft. There is no grace period whatsoever. This 8 to 12% hit is the steepest single-year loss you will see in the entire ownership cycle. Think about it. If you buy a $60 million aircraft, you are potentially losing over $7 million in value before you even take your first family vacation. The premium for that new jet smell is just breathtakingly expensive.
Now let's look at the anatomy of the curve beyond that brutal first year. So when inexperienced buyers or, their accounting teams build out a spreadsheet to project ownership costs, they almost always assume depreciation is just a flat percentage. They'll neatly knock off maybe 5 or 6% every single year. But actual private jet depreciation is highly nonlinear. It comes in very predictable phases. Point one is that brutal 8 to 12% year one drop we just talked about. Then, as we move into point two, years 2 through 5, the aircraft settles into the pre-owned market. Now it's dropping roughly 6 to 8% annually. During this phase, it's fiercely competing against other pre-owned jets based mostly on its interior configuration and total flight time. Moving into point 3, years 6 to 10, the bleeding actually starts to slow down a bit to about 4 to 6% a year. The airframe is maturing, and the market starts caring a lot more about upcoming major inspections. And finally, by point 4, year 10 and beyond, the curve flattens out to just 2 to 4% a year, the massive depreciation has already happened, and the jet's value is pretty much tethered to how long it's been since its last major overhaul. Let's ground this theory by looking at some actual 2026 residual value benchmarks.
Curves and theories are great, but let's look at the hard 2026 numbers for some of the world's most popular heavy hitters. If you buy a Gulfstream G650ER, by year 5, it's retaining roughly 62 to 68% of its original delivery price. By year 10, it is down to between 38 and 44%. The Bombardier Global 6000 and the Dassault Falcon 7X follow very similar, maybe slightly steeper trajectories, bottoming out in the low to mid-30s as a percentage of their original price by year 10. We are talking about tens of millions of dollars literally evaporating. It's just a stark reality of how a massive initial capital investment shrinks over a decade. Now, a quick but super vital caveat here. These benchmark ranges assume a balanced market. Market dynamics absolutely matter. If you think back to 2022 and 2023, we saw incredibly tight pre-owned supply. Everybody wanted a jet and nobody was selling. That kind of environment temporarily pushes residuals 5 to 10 points above these historical ranges. But when supply loosens back up, gravity always takes over and pulls those values right back down to the curve we just looked at.
So, how do you protect the asset? Let's talk about value shields.
Knowing this depreciation curve is coming for your asset, how do you defend against it? If you have two jets of the exact same year and the exact same model parked right next to each other on the tarmac, their prices can still vary wildly. Why is that? Well, it comes down to 4 specific factors that move residual value. First is engine program coverage, which is massive, and we'll dive into that in a second. Second is damage history. Even if the damage is fully, perfectly repaired, it's going to discount the jet by 3 to 8%. And if a seller tries to hide undisclosed damage, absolute deal killer in this industry. Nobody will touch it. Third is total time and cycles. If your jet has flown significantly more hours than the median for its age, expect a 5 to 10% penalty. And finally, configuration and interior cycle. A freshly refurbished interior and modern avionics really protect your value. But if your jet is due for a refurb, the market will absolutely make you pay for it at the time of sale.
But the absolute most crucial point here is that first variable, engine program coverage. This is an absolute necessity. We're talking about manufacturer plans like Rolls-Royce Corporate Care, Honeywell MSP Gold, or Pratt & Whitney ESP. Why do these matter so much? Because private jet engines are incredibly complex and just obscenely expensive to overhaul. If an airframe does not have engine program coverage, it takes a massive 5 to 15% discount on the open market. And that holds true even if the rest of the aircraft is physically flawless. Buyers just will not take on the catastrophic financial risk of an uncovered engine failure.
All of this brings us to what we call the smarter buyer strategy. When we synthesize all this data, the year one cliff, those nonlinear curves, the benchmarks, and the value shields, we actually unlock a financial cheat code for aircraft acquisition. Mathematically speaking, that steep, immediate year one drop we discussed earlier is the absolute best argument against buying a brand new jet. The smarter buyer strategy lets someone else take that initial catastrophic hit. Acquiring a thoughtfully selected 3 to 5-year-old pre-owned jet, one that's fully enrolled in an engine program and has a spotless damage history, makes infinitely more financial sense than buying the exact same model fresh off the factory floor. By entering the market at point 2 of our curve, you are actively protecting your capital from the steepest part of the depreciation slide.
And the reality of what this strategy yields is just staggering. Executing this approach typically delivers materially better 10-year economics for the owner. We are talking about saving between $4 million and $8 million over a standard hold period simply by buying a 3 to 5-year-old aircraft instead of a new one. That is $4 to $8 million of preserved wealth, purely from understanding the shape of the depreciation curve and utilizing the right value shields. Which really brings us to the ultimate question. Look, we all love the idea of brand new luxury. But when the hard data shows that this luxury evaporates the absolute moment the tires touch the runway, you really have to ask yourself, at the cost of up to $8 million in completely avoidable lost value over a decade, who is really paying for that new jet smell? Is the prestige of being the very first owner truly worth millions of dollars in predatory depreciation? It's a pretty fascinating reality check on the true cost of private aviation. Thanks for joining me to unpack the hidden economics of flight in this explainer. I really hope this helps you navigate the skies and, your spreadsheets a whole lot better.